Hey everyone, welcome back to Tactical Magic Podcast. This is Molly Mandelberg, your host, and I have I think, potent and important conversation on the episode for you here today. Something that's been coming up a lot in conversations with my clients and potential clients, and it happens in pretty much every program that I run, is the idea that there are beliefs that we hold that can keep us from becoming more of ourselves, becoming the leaders that we're meant to be, sharing our work in a bigger way, and actually receiving the clients and customers and cash that we want to have and that we desire, because those limiting beliefs can sometimes sort of shoot ourselves in the foot and keep us from actualizing those things into our lives. So I have a couple experts on this topic on self-actualization and stepping into being more of the love that you truly are in your life. So hang tight and we'll be right back. It's not just about mastering technology. It's not just about brand or messaging. It's not just about making more money. It's about showing up in a big way so your people can find you. This is about bringing your most wild and authentic self into the hustle and grind. Welcome to Tactical Magic, a business strategies podcast for the warrior goddess entrepreneur. Awesome. So Stacy Musial is on a mission to bring love to the world by assisting humanity to love themselves first, to transcend through the shadows and awaken their potential as sovereign beings. She is the author of Your Empowered Soul, a natural path to healing anxiety and depression. She has been practicing psychotherapy for over 10 years and has a passion for diving deep into emotional wounds to heal and transform the energy behind the wound to bring light through for deep love. And Brenda Carey, also on the line with us, is passionate about guiding people to energetically align with their heart's deepest desire. She is a holistic lifestyle health coach and yoga teacher, utilizing the wisdom of Ayurveda and meditation infused with energy healing to co-create healing and wholeness in the body, mind, and soul. She's the owner of Sacred Path Healing Yoga and Reiki and is the creator of Inspired Living, an online conscious holistic health program. They are both the co-hosts of Be the Love podcast, and Brenda and Stacy are dedicated to raise the vibration of humans and the planet. Welcome to the show, Stacy and Brenda.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you for that great intro.
Yeah, so happy to have you here. So I would love it if you just briefly first share, how did you guys find these paths for yourselves? Like, it's usually a meandering, wandering journey to entrepreneurship and to leadership and to stepping into a place where we're helping people to heal their lives and to transcend. So what was that journey like for you, Stacy?
Yeah, absolutely. It really came down to traumatic childhood that I had after my mom, she left our family, and there was a lot of trauma around that. And then if you fast forward a little bit, I became a single mom, and I was in between those periods, had a lot of trauma come up, but I was also in a very self-destructive place. I was drinking a lot and just like pushing down my emotions. I didn't know I had emotions. I knew I had emotions, but I didn't know I had a body attached to my head, and was very disconnected from my emotional experience. And when I became a single mom with my son, I realized that I had so much more that I could be doing to help him and raise him. And so that really started my transition to healing myself and going through what I needed to connect with my own body and my wisdom and my inner truth. And that began over the years. And my son's now 21. So I've been on this journey for many years and have healed myself from different autoimmune conditions and PTSD and depression and other things. And it's just really been an opening of peeling back the layers so I can really help other people on their path. So it's really been just that transformative experience since then for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I love that. I love the focus on healing yourself first or as you begin to support other people too. I think that's a real highlight for sure. What about you, Brenda?
Oh my, I'll definitely piggyback with what Stacy had mentioned. I Didn't have a lot of early childhood trauma. Mine began with a diagnosis of scoliosis when I was an adolescent, which is a curvature of the spine, and was put in a back brace through most of my adolescence, and then eventually had spinal fusion surgery when I was 19. And what I absorbed from that time on a very deep level was that there's something wrong with me and I needed to be fixed. And that pretty much colored my perspective throughout my whole teenage years and into my 20s. And I'm not like blaming fault on the doctors or the surgeons by any means, but that's how I took it in and how I received it. That to me was step one of the healing journey of recognizing, like, oh my gosh, that's how I'm thinking. That's my perspective. Like, I'm thinking everything's wrong with me and it's my fault, when in actuality that needed to be healed. And then further down the road, when I too became a mom, what is it about becoming a parent that just brings out the shadows that need to be healed? That same message came back, and the symptom was a digestive autoimmune condition. I wasn't asking for help. I just thought, this is how life is. I pull myself up by my own bootstraps and just make it work and push, push, push. And eventually my immune system just said, enough, stop digesting other people's emotions. I recognize that you do have a body that is safe, and a mind that's thinking thoughts that aren't necessarily true. And so that was a part of my healing journey. And similar to Stacy, we actually met at a yoga school in Colorado. And we just really hit it off quickly with talking about yoga and meditation and Ayurveda, the different modalities that helped us heal from our various past traumas.
I love that. Yeah, I think the focus you just pointed to of that perspective, that thought, the thoughts that we're thinking are not necessarily true. And if we walk through our lives thinking I'm broken and I need to be fixed, then all of our experiences are kind of being led from that place. They're being guided from that place of something's wrong with me. And I think whether the trauma or the challenges were in growing up or in our young adult life, or even now, however old people are, that those stories can keep running and that program stays like solidified almost in our realities until we start to question it, until we start to be almost invited to a new state of being or a new awareness that we can choose to start creating our life from those places. I love that. And I also just want to say, as someone who doesn't have children, that you can come to that awareness no matter who you are. It doesn't have to be motherhood that encourages you to like take a real stand for yourself, because I too had lots of trauma in my childhood and finally came to a point of, hey, this like chronic depression and the substance abuse issues and the ways that you're looking at relationships and connecting with other people from this like very hunted and closed off place isn't actually getting you the results you want in life or the joy that you know is possible. And what else can I choose? What tools or modalities can I lean into? I love this conversation already because it's such an invitation to look at, we are not a product of our circumstances as soon as we decide to change our lives. And that's a choice that any of us can make. And I also love that you guys come from such like kind of different modality backgrounds and have found the same kind of transformation and healing, which just shows that it doesn't matter what you try. If you are willing to find the thing that works for you, that change is possible and that there's a lighter state of being on the other side of that. So yeah, really powerful.
I really think that one of the things that really connected Stacy and I is we both had autoimmune conditions, a different kind, and we were both willing to look outside of the box. Like we just thought, you know what, Western medicine just isn't the best solution for us. I mean, granted, it has its place. I'm not trying to put fault on it at all, but we were looking to literally raise our own vibration, and it's kind of a struggle to find other people that are also looking for a different perspective and don't want to stay stuck in sort of the common narrative of autoimmune conditions, just the way that it is, just suck it up. And so we were just looking for a more positive way to look at a condition that had the stigma of, that's it, there's nothing else you can do.
Yeah, like Western medicine tells us only from a certain perspective, right? And they're like, here's a pill for these symptoms. And that's what it is. We're always getting to the symptom, but what's under the root? And in my experience, there were these thought patterns and these emotional patterns, especially around the autoimmune piece of how was I attacking myself? How was I caring for others before I cared for myself? And so I had to really take a look at what I was internalizing as well and move the energy that was stuck behind the autoimmune condition. And once I started doing that, I started healing things that I hadn't even realized needed to be healed that were really at the root of that condition.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what we're capable of. And I think what we can choose to, like you said, think outside the box to find another solution. If this reality is saying it's hopeless, but some part of you is saying, I don't want to give up on me, or I don't want to give up on the hope, then find another pathway and find somebody who can guide you and support you or hold you accountable to navigating that new pathway. And yeah, I'll speak from personal experience also with having kind of accountability buddies in the beginning of my business journey, when there was a lot of limiting beliefs and a lot of stories that I couldn't, or I shouldn't, or I can't, or I won't. Having other people who were going along the same journey as me to check in with and to like ground into a new reality or a new possibility of reality was like, yeah, it made the difference between quitting and giving up and going back to hopelessness and sticking through it and getting to somewhere new. So I love that you guys found each other and that you found that support system inside of there. And anybody can find that. Finding mentorship is easier than ever, but also finding other people, it takes some effort, but finding other people on a similar journey to you is possible, especially with the way technology is set up to connect us nowadays. Yeah, I want to hear more about your podcast. It's called Be the Love, and what's sort of the groundwork of it, or the methodology behind Be the Love podcast.
Yeah, so Be the Love really rooted or came out of this experience I had when I went on a journey to find what was next in my own transition. And I kept asking universe, spirit, what's next for me? Because my son had just moved out of the house. And so I was feeling that empty nest energy, and I needed to find myself again and what that was. And so I went on a journey to Sedona, Arizona, actually, and I just got this download while I was there around being able to teach about love. But then the podcast came to me in one night on 11/11/2020, and I was from there. I was given everything I needed, and everything flowed from there. And so it's really been a beautiful journey. And the methodology is really about how can we truly begin to love ourselves, right? Because we all say we want to change the world and make things better, but what does that really mean? It really starts with changing our inner being so we can release the fear, release the uncertainty, release the old emotions, the layers that, have served us for up until now. And, what are we ready to release? And so when we start healing ourselves, we let go of those emotions, and we can truly be different in the world. And if everyone takes responsibility for their own healing rather than seeking outside of themselves, then we can truly be the love within, so we can truly have that love without.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Stacy and I actually knew Stacy before she started the podcast. And initially I was like, wow, she's starting a podcast. That's bold. She's never done that before. That's really stepping out. And I was a guest a couple of times actually on her podcast when it came out that first year. So she had a different co-host. And at the end of, gosh, was it 2021?
20,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, at the end of 2021, it's interesting. My business started shifting. I started shifting it from basically being scattered over different yoga and meditation centers and teaching all over the place, and shifting to a more online platform and basically working for myself as opposed to working for various places around Colorado. And it's so interesting. At the end of 2021, Stacy had invited me to be a guest on the podcast to talk about visioning for the new year. And I didn't know it at the time that her previous co-host was looking to bow out. And I had really been sitting with, what do I want to vision for this new chapter of my business? What is it going to look like? And again, divine download said, and not knowing anything about the situation with the podcast was like, you need to speak your truth. You need to be bold enough to speak the wisdom that is within you. But I didn't really believe in that myself. And of course, Stacy comes on and we finish this interview where she's asking me questions. She's like, I really would like a new co-host. Would you be willing to do this with me? And I went, oh my gosh, isn't that speaking my truth? And what I really needed to help me step into that power. Didn't know that's how it was going to unfold at the time. And so grateful for Stacy to see that within me. And we've had just such an amazing year. 2022 has been really great, just growing the podcast and allowing our voices to be heard and interviewing really cool people such as yourself and getting to know them. So it's amazing when we open ourselves up and start to see, like, where can I grow? Where can I evolve? That the people and the opportunities will flow in. And
Mm.
it totally took me by surprise. Never would I have ever thought I would have gotten into podcasting. Never.
Yeah. I love it, but here you are doing it.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Such a fun journey.
I love that also both of you sort of mentioned that you knew something was coming, you knew something was next, and you asked, like, what is it? Show me, universe or spirit or whoever, what's next for me. I'm willing to look at what's the thing I'm adding now, or what's the thing I'm stepping into now. And that willingness to be in sort of receptive mode and receiving of that information, or of that noticing of like, oh, and now this door has opened to me as I was asking that question. That feels like the vibe of the question I was asking. I'm going to move in that direction. There's like this intuitive knowing, this willingness to say, okay, I don't know where that's going to go, but I see that one step and that feels right for me. So I'm going to take that one step forward. I love it. And I was just in Sedona a few days ago too. So I will speak to the power of that part of the world helping with downloads too. I kept having a new idea, and then someone I talked to that day would be like, bring that idea up in conversation. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a sign I need to move in that direction. So it can be simple. It can be small little moments where you're like thinking about something and there's a synchronistic sign, so to speak, or it could be a new idea that just pops into your head, or it could be a person coming in and what they're up to is so in alignment and feels so good that you just want more of whatever they're having. Like, there's so many ways that this can show up. And I also love the idea, I'm not calling you out on this, but be the love is like a trite phrase. But the truth is, like, love is who we truly fucking are, so to speak. Excuse my French. And that if we're willing to let go of, or as Stacy said, peel back the layers of all the other stuff keeping us from being that love, then so much more is possible. But there are layers of stuff. That's what the human condition kind of is. And it's important that we look at how long are we willing to keep those layers in between us and the sense of being that love we truly are. Yeah. You both have sort of different modalities, and I think I'd love to hear more about how you serve clients and how that's sort of different, even though you guys are both on this same kind of messaging journey. So Brenda, tell us a little bit about the holistic lifestyle health coaching.
Yeah, thank you. So I call myself an energy healing pathfinder. Actually, that was given to me by a dear friend of mine, because he was like, you know so many different modalities. And honestly, that came from my own journey of back pain and autoimmunity. I knew I needed to find my own path, and that's what became the business name, A Sacred Path. Painful at times, but so necessary to learn about myself and other people. So my inspired living program came out of me blending different modalities. So yoga being one, and yoga not so much like stretching, but yoga to embody the experience we desire to have. along with various forms of meditation and energy healing, so that eventually I guide mainly women, some men, that I guide people to finding their own path to healing, because ultimately it's an intuitive awareness that we all come upon when we are, I mentioned, having these divine downloads, when we are taking that time to receive as opposed to give, 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 give. Because we can get on this pattern of always doing and always giving, when really some of the best moments of inner work come from knowing that, oh, I get to receive and I get to allow as well. So I get the privilege of helping people align, energetically align to what they really want. And they might initially say, oh, it's money, or it's losing weight, or it's better health. But I would say it's probably even a little bit deeper than that. It's like operating from the, not just a mindset, but dropping it down into a heart set that either I am enough, or I am light, or I am love. But that's the path that we get to go down. And I feel really privileged that I get to take the story of my pain and what I've learned from that, and then gift that in ways to help others.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah. And the Pathfinder is just a juicy thing to get to call yourself too, because helping people, I think a lot of people feel like they don't know what their path is. And it's important, I think, to lean into support if you feel aimless or lost in that way, because
So true.
yeah, there's so much to be gained from feeling like you are on your path and doing what you want or you need or you are here to be doing. Yeah, really cool. Stacy, tell us about your work.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is called Awaken Your Empowered Soul, and it actually stemmed from my book called Your Empowered Soul. And so I really help a lot of people with trauma. Trauma is a really big part of my work. So taking a very trauma-informed stance with the work I do. And I utilize a lot of different modalities as well. And so I EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing, and emotional freedom technique, which is another energy modality. I utilize yoga therapy, and I've nutrition, and now I'm actually integrating psychedelics into my work. And so people can come to me with, after they've had a psychedelic experience, and I'm in Colorado, so psilocybin just became legal, and so that's another piece, that and ketamine. So with all of these different things, really helping people to get to the core of what's been going on. A lot of people have trauma that don't realize it's even trauma. Maybe there's a lot of defenses that are up. And so I'm working to help people release the layers that keep them stuck, to really truly seeing that they are an empowered soul, that they have the answers within themselves rather than seeking without. And then finding the balance. When do we need to reach out and receive support? Because we do need community, and we do need sometimes those other people, other helping professionals, to say, kind of look at those blind spots, but really to support someone in honoring their process and validating. We come from a culture that is very guilt and shame based. And so helping to move through that piece, and, when it's okay to have these like deep emotions and honor our humanness, right? Before we can go to the light. And that's another piece, is like that spiritual bypassing happens a lot in our culture. And so honoring like the light, but also honoring the shadow side, the deeper stuff that's there, that's keeping them from really truly seeing that they are that empowered soul. So it's really a process, but it's been a beautiful journey to help people really discover that within themselves.
Yeah, totally. And I also love that we talk about inner work and healing, and it is about the heart, but it can be so much talk based often that it hangs out in the head a lot, or it's a cognitive awareness rather than an understanding. And I love that both of you bring in some sort of somatic or physical aspect, that it's a full body experience to heal ourselves, and to try and do it with just our minds is just never going to quite land as firmly as it when we include our bodies in that. So I love that you both have that as a focus.
Absolutely. I think the somatic is, I do somatic work as well. I forgot to mention that, but we can't heal through the mind. It has to be through the body, right? There's no getting over anything, but getting through it, which, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, EMDR and EFT are both totally somatic, physical kinds of experiences of
Absolutely.
healing too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Big fan of EFT. I haven't done much EMDR, but all my friends are doing it, so I'll probably try it sometime. Awesome. So yeah, you both also are, Stacy has a book, Your Empowered Soul. So I'm assuming people can go and get that from your website.
Yeah, it's on Amazon as well, but there is a
Okay.
link for my website.
Awesome. Yes. And if you're in Colorado, Brenda, you have a yoga and Reiki studio, or is that just a...
Actually, I'm not in Colorado anymore as
Oh,
of recently. I just moved to Montana. So my work
oh,
is online, and I am starting to offer different yoga and Reiki sessions in Montana. But I have online programs in the holistic lifestyle program. So yeah, you can check me out. My website is sacredpathyogaandreiki.com.
awesome. And you have both shared so much magic and wisdom on this show already, but do you have any last words of wisdom that you want to leave people with?
I think it's just being true to yourself and where are you at today and not trying to be different than you are, right? Just loving what is in this moment. And that's just really just starting where you're at.
Yeah, I would just piggyback and say just knowing that we are powerful co-creators and we get to be walking miracles.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I feel like the message I'm being left with from this episode is like how important and how possible things are when you're willing to get support. That it's really okay to lean into mentorship. One of the things I love about this like upcoming generation right now, whatever Gen Z or whoever we call them, is how normalized getting support is. So many people are in therapy or have a coach or are doing things to support their mental and emotional health. If you're out there listening and this message today has resonated with you at all, like highly recommend check out Be the Love podcast. Go find Stacy Musial and Brenda Carey in their own separate but awesome platforms and lean into getting the support that you need. Lean into asking bigger questions of yourself and of the world around you and seeing what is that next step or leap or tiny baby step that you could take to step into being more of you, to step into believing what you desire is possible and that you do deserve and are worthy of the life that you'd like to be living. So thank you both for bringing that really grounded and important message today. And I'm super grateful to have shared this space with you both.
Thank you for having us. It's
Yes,
been
thanks,
beautiful.
Molly.
Yeah. And thank you everyone out there for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe to this show and maybe share this episode with somebody who you think might get something out of it, out of hearing it. And whatever happens, keep asking big questions and taking bold action because you are here for a reason.